Okay, guys, I'll try and keep this brief. If you haven't done it before, I would say go last, because then you can listen to everybody else doing it, and then it's relatively easy. As long as you can fly your plane. Okay, good, no problems with that. We shouldn't have any issues with dropping bombs where we need to drop them. I'll start with an apology. It's the first time I've done it in official format like this. Every time I just normally scribble on a page, but I'll do as much as I can. If you have any questions, just ask. And we'll talk them out. Various scenarios. There's a million and one ways to do things in this environment, and so inevitably, everyone's going to have their own. Oh, I thought we could do it this way. What happens if this happens? What happens if my wing falls off? Usual stuff. So just pipe up, and also if you know any better than me, please. I'm always happy to be corrected or have pointers. So we will crack on. There we go. Right, so close air support obviously is action against hostile targets which are in close proximity to friendly forces, and requires the detailed integration of each area mission with fire and movement. So that's working alongside the ground forces. Okay, we don't have ground forces at the moment. I think the closest we're going to come to that, and the intentions are, is when you'll be working with the rotary wing squadron, hopefully lower down in the weeds, and providing them with the close air support they need to facilitate their missions. Okay, providing ground and amphibious forces with firepower in offensive, defensive operations day, night to destroy, suppress, neutralize, disrupt, fix, or delay enemy forces. Variety of targets likely to be encountered make it important to be able to employ a variety of weapons and deliver systems. Thus, we've got you guys, and obviously the interoperability between the different airframes, communications, and everything else make us be able to achieve this aim. And the word close does not imply the fact that you're going to be dropping bombs right on my lunchbox. I will be relatively close, but rather it's situational. Okay, everybody happy with what we are doing? Right, two types of CAS then in the 378th. Okay, we will be doing hopefully built into missions. Then we'll be reactive, which is, you'll be on station, maybe as an alert. You won't know what's going on, but then you'll be reacting to a threat. The helicopters get into trouble, they call you in, you help them out. You're the hero, they get the job done. And pre-planned, which is sort of training. You're specifically going on to help a rotary wing mission or a ground troop mission. Okay, and the format that we're going to use primarily until I get better at all of this will be Keyhole CAS. Does everyone here, or so it's the easiest way, who does not know what Keyhole CAS is?
Cylon.
Pardon?
Viper.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Keyhole CAS is, can you still see that? Because it's, there we go, hang on, there we go. Is basically, normally, if you've done it with the AI in DCS, it will use waypoints, IP Mazda, IP Dodge, and it will drive you in there. Keyhole CAS allows us to very quickly establish a known point, so point echo, and then known points around it that can be used for coordination, IPs, and the rest of it. So in this particular case, if I get my pen, we have point echo. I draw around it, look at that, nice little circle. Okay, point echo, not necessarily going to be the target. It may be the JTAC's position. It may be a center of a town, center of an AOR. It may be anything. The targets can be dotted all around the area. It's just a point that you can coordinate yourself from. So you'll be given this point. Okay, and then on the cardinal directions, obviously you have Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. Okay, and these will act as your waypoints or IPs, holding points, whatever the JTAC decides. They will act, and we don't use the cardinal points. We use Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and now become evident how we utilize them further on. Does that make sense, guys? Yep.
Looking good. That.
Okay. So, and the reason we do that is it just allows us more flexibility. Like I said, I can plonk point echo, I can move point echo wherever I want, and then these points move around with it. Okay. So just as the Alpha and Bravo and Charlie, they're not. There's no fixed distance. They are more their direction. They are the cardinal direction from point echo. The distance is given by the JTAC when he requires it. Okay. Right. So the bit I haven't put in a slide for is prior to this. So you're guys are going to get airborne wherever that's for pre-planned tasking. Reactive tacking, so you're going up for a hold. Basically, you're going to be up, you're going to be airborne, you're going to be under somebody's control. Theoretically, you're going to be under in 378 terms, you're probably going to be under like an AWACS or a Red Crown, just somewhere who's looking after you while you're not doing your mission. Okay, if it's pre-planned, then you will proceed on task as briefed, and you'll join the JTAC at the appropriate time that he's expecting you. You'll go straight there. However, if it's not and it's reactive, you'll be with your safety service, and they will then tell you, "Yep, go ahead and make contact with your JTAC. Head towards this point, or head towards an IP or a known control point, or something like that." So they will steer you in the safe direction to get you going. Okay, you will then build in the rest of it from these steps forward. Okay, so initially you're gonna check in. Okay, so whether that's pre-planned or reactive, you're going to get told when to switch over to the JTAC. Okay, you should receive point echo. If you don't get it, ask for it. So if you're just wandering towards the JTAC and you don't quite know, you can open up and say, "We're not in receipt of point echo," and that's the first thing he can give you, because without that, nobody has any idea where you're going to go, where you're going to hold, anything like that. Okay, so make contact with the JTAC or the FAC-A. Okay, so this is an example, Blackbeard, this is Charger 1, we're 50 miles north, inbound for tasking. Okay, Charger 1, proceed Alpha 8, 15, Block 17, and go ahead with, or he might ask you to stand by if he's working over aircraft for your check-in. Okay, so proceed Alpha 8. So we're going to think back to the guys that didn't know what Keyhole CAS was. You had Point Echo in the middle. To the north of it, you had Alpha, and he's just told you to head to Alpha at 8 nautical miles. Okay, and then that's all that means. Alpha 8 nautical miles. If you'd have said Bravo 15, he'd have been out here at 15 miles. Okay, range from Echo, that is. Okay, so that's why you need to get Echo into your system. Okay, and same all the way around the clock. The 15 Block 17, anyone take a stab at what that means?
Altitude in thousands.
Yeah, so you should be on a common QNH, so whatever's the theatre QNH is. Whether we'll use, well, to be fair, actually, it's just 29902 in the mission, so that's what it'll be. Yeah, proceed 15,000 feet to 17,000 feet. Now, at flight lead's discretion, if there's like 4 of you in a flight, he can split you between those altitudes. However, as far as the JTAC is concerned, you have got flexibility as long as you are between 15,000 and 17,000 feet in that position. Okay, and it's just a racetrack. There's nothing special about the hold at the point. What I would say is that make that hold at your maximum conserve speed. Make sure that you can fly it accurately. You don't encroach, any of the other areas. You don't cruise over Echo. No closer than the 8 miles. It is what it means. Okay, so where you can be 10 miles out, but no closer than 8. However, if you're stretching that to a 15-mile circle, when you get given a 9 line, you're waiting an extra, for the A10s especially, an extra minute and a half to 2 minutes before you call an IP inbound. Okay, so make sure you're keeping it within a control point that you can then achieve the target and the run-in at good time. Does that make sense? Cool. Right, so he will either give you go ahead with or stand by for a check-in. Like I say, if he's working with aircraft, if he's busy getting shot at, usual stuff, then he'll ask you to stand by and he'll call you for your check-in when he's ready. However, when you get the chance, you will check in. Okay, and if you've watched the video, MN Popka is all there. So mission number, tonight you can just make it up. Number and type of aircraft, flight 2 F-18s. Where are you? So if you have point echo, you can report it. If you're reporting still from a control point, give that control point. I'm 50 miles west of Bullseye, okay, or west of IP Dingo, whatever. Okay, it'll all make sense. There'll be different control points, but in tonight's we're pre-planned, so we all have point echo, so we should be able to report where we are with reference to point echo. Okay, and it's reported from point echo, so everyone's happy doing the reciprocals, not what bearing echo is to you, but if the JTAC was to have a radar where he'd have to look to find you. Ordnance, what ordnance you've got per aircraft, and so start with, if everyone's carrying 2 GBU-12s, 265 echoes, everyone's got a lightning pod, and then potentially any differences, i.e. Dash 2 has 1 Mark 82. Yeah, so give the similarities first, the easy part. So everybody's got these ones. Okay, however, the difference is Dash 2 didn't listen to the brief and he bought a Mark 82 as well. Okay, Playtime to be reported, so the amount of time you've got that you can play with the JTAG, or how much time you can offer him, really. Don't go giving him 2 hours and then said, "Oh, I've got to go and refuel 20 minutes later." Okay, so playtime is reported as 0 plus, and then whatever it is. So in these examples, 0 plus 4.5 is 45 minutes, 1 plus 1.5, 15 minutes. Okay, for the F-18s, that's very easy to work out because they can use their F-pass pages, which gives them their burn rates. I don't think that's been implemented in the F-16 yet. So give us your conservative rate. Yeah, if you plan for 30 minutes at a certain speed, whatever amount of fuel you've got, then just give us that number.
And the A10 is measured in weeks.
Yes, yeah. It doesn't include single engine flying. Capabilities then, if there's anything special that you can do, and I'm not on about juggling or plate spinning or other games like elephant impressions, it's, are you FAC-A capable? Have you got something else on board that you're capable of downlink? We don't have these facilities in this, so really, we're not going to have anybody, but we potentially might end up with people that are confident in FAC-A. So basically just doing this from their aircraft and managing the battle picture from up there. Okay. Yeah, it probably, so TGP and saddle, I mean, I've got the lightning pod under ordnance, or TGP, whatever way you want to put it, but you can put it in capabilities as well. Combined arms doesn't allow me to interact with saddle. So you can push it across and I'll note it, but I won't do anything with it. Until go on. Yeah. Yeah, so your TGP. So yeah, so my capabilities, I've got an IR pointer, I've got a laser. I can laser for weapons, which we're going to do tonight, or I can laser so you can laser spot search. Which is why I've asked you all to bring targeting pods so we can do a couple of different variations. But yeah, so give me your capabilities in there, and then abort codes. We're not going to spoof each other or anything like that. So aborts will always be in the clear at the moment until we come up with more advanced things. And all that means is instead of giving you a code to verify that I'm the JTAC and I'm telling you to abort, I'll just call abort. Okay, and then you come off cold. Okay, everybody happy with the check-in or any questions?
Nope, good.
Cool. Right, so
good.
I have one. Just for tonight specifically, are we going to have separate laser codes on our bombs and stuff like that? Or are we just all going to be on the same code?
I can change code quicker than you can, more than likely, just the way combined arms works. So if you want to do different laser codes, be my guest, but you will not be, I can't laser for more than one target. So it'll just be a case of, and we're taking it in turns because it's a training environment. So I'm happy if everybody wants to come out on the default, or if everybody wants to come out on the same. It's not a problem.
Okay.
I think ours actually has to be set up in the mission before we go. I think that's what Joe was asking. So we'll just go to default.
Well,
you
exactly.
can set it up in the new board.
Yeah, if you can't change it once you're airborne, and you have changed it before you've left, just tell me what it is. It's easier for me to change my code than it is for you to do anything else.
Be firm.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Just bear with me when I'm. I'll have to change codes, but it's not a problem. So so when you check in, and that's when you give. Suppose when you give your ordnance, everybody's got 2 BU-12s, 65 echoes. -1 codes are, -2 codes are, and just let me know what they are. Make sure I copy those. Cool. Anything else on the check-in? So this doesn't have to be done at the last minute. My advice would be to do this as soon as you get handed over. As soon as you're ready to take the information or pass the information, because you're going to get given somewhere to go to, and then ideally in an action environment, you can get all of this done. You can get the situation update done, the game plan, and the attack brief, so that when your first aircraft arrives at the IP, bang, you're rolling in. Okay, so it can be very, very efficient and very quick. Tonight, not a problem at all, but get them done as soon as you're comfortable and everybody's listening. Okay, so remember, everyone needs to be on the same frequencies, because that's how we spot incorrect readbacks and things like that, is just by going, ha, you said 9 instead of 5. You know, silly little things like that, but your wingman will spot it. Or I copied this. What did you? And you know, you'll start a conversation and then just ask for verification. Okay, so make sure you're all in on the same frequency before you start the check-in. Right. Any further questions on the check-in? Cool. Right, moving on. Situation update. Okay, so once you've checked in and you're on your way, again, you'll get advisor ready for your situation update. Everybody should already have seen that I've cheated and given you a situation update already. So pre-planned, I can give this. I can give you a situation update. I can give you all the information I've got because we know majority of it, and anything else can be updated when you check in and when you get this. For reactive, you might get all of this in a wanna. Okay, so if you're in receipt for pre-planned, like you guys all should be, on your check-in, you can say on here, in receipt of puck code, and give me the code of the message that you've got. Okay, if it doesn't match the latest one that I've produced, I'm going to go ahead and give you this. If it does, I'm going to be like, yay, no changes, or following changes. Okay, so very briefly then, what you're going to get from me is any threat on the ground that is specifically a threat to the aircraft. Now, manpads is always a given, an assumption. Okay, so I'm talking about, you know, 4 miles west, possible Shilka sighted, 10 miles south, possible SA6s. I've been maneuvering in the area, sort of things like that. Those things that are going to be a threat to you. Enemy situation, I'm going to talk about who are they and what do they do. And, you know, 51st Rifle Regiment currently in position, and they're flanking north round to the west, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to give you a situation of what who the enemy are, what they're doing. Friendly situation, exactly the same. I'm going to tell you that all friendlies are situated within the confines of the FOB. There are nobody on the outside, or friendlies on patrol 15 miles west. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to give you any coordinates of friendlies. And that's because we don't want those coordinates ending up in your mission system. You know, if you accidentally write them down in your knee pad because you want to make a note that you don't want to drop a bomb on these guys, and then suddenly you're reading the wrong one because you're in a turn, nose down, head down, and you write the wrong coordinates in and you end up dropping a bomb on them, that's why we won't give you coordinates. Any active gun target lines? Something we have simulated in previous missions. We haven't any tonight, and we're limiting them at the moment until I can get, again, something to get used to. It's another dimension to operating in the combined arms sort of operating areas and theatres, so don't worry about those at the moment. But what you're going to get given is roughly you know, artillery section 20 miles northwest, engaging targets southwest to Point Echo. And then you're going to get the highest height of the weapon type that they're firing so that you can avoid that in a way. Clearance authority, who will be giving clearance to release the weapons, in which case it's delegated most of the time down to the JTAC, but you might end up being involved in a massive command and control element. Hazards and weather, terrain, minimum safe altitude. Not when we talk about power lines, we're not talking about domestics, we're talking about high voltage, the big ones with the big A-frames on them. Okay, so you're going to get things like that in and around there. Weather observations, anything that is going to cause a hazard to you or cause, you know, make you have to think about how you're going to get in there. And then any restrictions that are in force, mainly to do with different nations, different forces operating together. So not something that we will come across too much working with ourselves in DCS. Anybody got any questions on situation update? Sweet. Moving on. Right. From there, at any point in here, if you arrive at your IP, or sorry, at your holding point, your stack, you can just report established. Established Alpha 8, block 1517, or 15 block 17. Okay. Just let him know you're there and ready. Then what he's going to say is he's going to say, Roger, after situation update, advisor and ready to copy the game plan. This is where it gets a tiny bit complicated, but not too much. Okay. Game plan is how are we going to do the bomb dropping, the killing today. Okay, and there are two main things to deal with. First of all, is the type of control. Okay, and then it is the methods of attack. There are 3 types of control. Okay, bear with me for my shitty drawings. But type 1, okay, is, let's say this is our bad guy, is a tank. I promise. There we go. Tank. Okay, here's my JTAC. Okay, and then here is my airplane. Now, type 1 control assumes that the JTAC can see the target, the plane can see the target, and the JTAC can see the plane. Okay, and that is to make sure that the JTAC can make sure that the plane is going to drop the bombs in the right place. His correlation, his confirmation method is that he's looking at the nose of that aeroplane and it is pointing in the right direction. Okay, something that we will not really be able to achieve in DCS because the graphics just aren't that good. I can't see your plane until it's too late. I don't have a real set of binoculars, and trying to find you with a mouse is a pain in the backside. Okay, so type 1 control generally assumes that everybody can see everybody. Type 2, which is what will be most common, okay, assumes that the JTAC can see the target and the plane can see the target, but this link between the JTAC and the plane doesn't exist, and therefore the JTAC has to use different method of ensuring that the plane is pointing in the right direction. Okay, and this will be done tonight, especially with heading restrictions. Okay, so I will give you a heading restriction cone that I need you to come in and attack on. Okay, and if you don't report in with the heading and it's inside the acceptable limits, you'll be told to abort or continue dry. If you're inside those headings and everything else matches, you'll get you cleared hot and you can drop your bomb. Okay, now the difference between type 2 and type 3 is exactly the same. However, type 1 and type 2 control are for single attacks. Okay, so it is for aircraft to drop one bomb and then leave. Type 3 is an engagement, which means that an aircraft or a flight can keep bombing the targets as briefed until they're all gone, or the JTAC shouts abort. Okay, everybody happy with those three?
Yep.
Sweet. So you're going to get type 2. Oh god, that's annoying, isn't it? Type 2 control tonight. We will advance, should we, to type 3 when we get more targets. So you may end up with 4, like a tank platoon in a position. So therefore, I'd give you type 3 control. Right, the next thing you're going to get do is either a bombs on target or a bombs on coordinates. Okay, bombs on targets are for laser guided weapons employed with a self-lased. So you're going to laser your own targets. We will achieve one of these tonight. Unguided ordnance, where you call visual. So if you're doing CCIP bombing onto a target and you get a talk on. Okay. Correction from a mark or a reference point. So if I throw you smoke on the floor and say 50 meters northwest of the smoke, I'm driving you to a target. You're going to get eyes on that target. Therefore, it's a bomb on a target. Weapons employed on GPS coordinates and then lased by your own aircraft. So again, I'm giving you the target, the coordinates. You're finding the target and then lasing it accurately with a pod. And then things like rockets and guns on positively identified targets. Okay, so you get the drift that bombs on target, you as the pilot need to be able to see the target, okay, and provide the right calls to the JTAC to make sure you've got the right target. If you're given bombs on coordinates, okay, it's going to be a laser guided weapon employed onto a laser, which is guided by a source outside of your aircraft. So me tonight. Unguided ordnance dropped from medium or high altitude above an overcast layer of cloud, maybe with the ability just to drop, give like an area suppression sort of thing. Unguided ordnance from low altitude, again, just you drop in. I need you to drop in an area just to scare the shit out of somebody or make a mess. It's not 100% accurate. Bombs on coordinates really is where we're going to use the laser designator. Okay, and again, GPS coordinates and then lased by an offboard source. So again, to the JTAC. Okay, does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it does. Presumably, we can use JDAMs for BSC as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sorry. As long as you get, if you're going to get so you'll get the 9 line, and then if you're going to drop a JDAM on it, you need to identify that target with your pod to obviously to adjust your target, your coordinates. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it as long, if it's bombs on targets, I'm relying on you calling basically tally or captured T-72. You know, you're identifying that target and you are tracking a T-72. Bombs on coordinates is you're just in and you're throwing a bomb in a general area. I'll deal with the getting it in the right place afterwards. You're going to get the on completion of that. You're going to get ordnance required. So require 1 GBU-12 per aircraft, depending on what you're carrying, obviously. And then interval will be every 1 minute. You know. So, and a full example of a game plan would be Charger 1-1 game plan as follows. Type 2 bombs on coordinates require 1 GBU-12 per aircraft every 1 minute. Okay, so that means that everybody's going to put bombs. They're going to drop a bomb on a lat and long, which is going to be, or a grid, which is going to be given to them by the JTAC, and they're going to do it at 1 minute intervals. So that's where you got to do your pilot ship and be a minute apart. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Right.
Yep.
Cool. Right, on to the final stage then, roughly, is the attack brief or the 9-line. All right, the 9-line can be split into 3 sections. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. The first one deals with where you're coming from. Where you're going to is the second part, and then where you're going to go back to, and anything, any miscellaneous stuff is the last part. So IP heading and distance. In Keyhole CAS, you'll be given this in a wanna. You won't be given IP Mazda, a heading from Mazda and a distance, because you're going to be, so we were Alpha 8, weren't we? So you're going to be here. Let me draw on my screen. In an orbit, yeah? So your IP will likely be Alpha 8, and that's it. Your IP is 8 miles on the Alpha leg from Point Echo. Okay? That's it. That's all you'll get, because that covers all 3 in Awana. Okay? Elevation will be the target's elevation. This is the stuff now that needs to go into your weapon system. Description, obviously, what is it? Shipping container in the open. Location. Location will be given as a grid, as a lat and long in degrees, minutes, seconds, degrees, minutes, decimal for the F-16s. I can do anything that you want in the realms of DCS. So I can left alt Yankee and it changes the coordinates immediately. So whatever is easiest for you guys, tell me, and I will give you the coordinates in that format. If you want to go hardcore and use grid, even though grid is not natural to the aircraft for the F-16 guys, be my guest. I'll give you in grid. Then you're going to get mark. How am I going to mark the target? So if it is a bombs on coordinate, I'm going to mark it with a laser probably. If it is a bombs on target, this is how I'm going to hand that target over to you. Now, I'm either going to mark it with an IR pointer. I'm going to not mark it because you've been given the coordinates and you should be able to find it from those coordinates. They should be relatively accurate. I'm going to laser it, and you're going to do a laser spot search, and we'll do a handover that way. Okay, or I'm going to drop a smoke, 1,000 meters short of it. Any of those sort of methods. It's how I'm going to point out that target to you, or mark will target will be talk on. If we're going to do a visual talk on. Line 8 is the friendlies, nearest friendlies. Today's only going to be me. And then line 9 will be your egress. So if we run through it very quickly, so you're going to get port ready for your 9-line. Roger. Charger 1's ready for 9-line. Roger. Alpha 8. Elevation 47 feet. Shipping container in the open. In position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Marked with laser code 1688. Nearest friendlies 2 kilometers east. Egress right pull. Alpha 8 15 block 17. Okay, so once you hit your target, pull right, return to Alpha 8 blocks 15 to 17. As simple as that. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
It does, yeah. Just that.
Yeah, you're just going to fly in, straight down there, do your business, right pull, and obviously if it's a bombs on coordinates, as soon as you got rid of the weapon, get the bloody hell out of there. Yeah, there might be a reason for it, whatever. If you're doing it yourself, do what you need to do to make sure you impact the target and then pull out. Okay. On completion of the 9 line, obviously I'll read it all out and then I'll say report ready for remarks and restrictions. Okay, you'll go on your intra-flight, make sure that everybody copied it. Okay, so when you report ready for 9 line, everybody be ready to either write, to put it into the system, however you're going to deal with it, be ready. I will do it slowly at pace so that if people are putting in positions into the system, because I know I prefer in VR to just put it straight in, do it that way. If you're going to write it down onto a piece of paper first, then I'll do it slow enough so you can lift your visor slightly and write it down. When it comes to remarks and restrictions, this is where I'll give you your attack headings. So in the instance of tonight, you're going to be running in east to west. Okay, so I'm probably going to give you a heading because I need you in. So say this is the target, I'm going to need you within a couple of degrees, 30 or 40 degrees of the target to hopefully pick up the laser, which means that your attack headings are going to need to be somewhere in here. Okay, which will be like as an example 250 to 290. So when it comes to your run-in, you'll call IP inbound, then you'll call in 260, which is here. I'll be like, cool, that works. He's already identified the target, cleared hot. If you call in 245, I'm going to go that, no, bugger off, continue dry. Okay, or I'm going to tell you to abort and rerun. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, that's really the only restrictions I've really come across at the moment, and that's purely to keep you in the bucket for the laser. Otherwise, it doesn't capture, and it might not capture tonight. We might have errant bombs everywhere. So, right, read. Then it will come. So I'll remarks and restrictions, and then I'll say advise ready for readback. If it is a bombs on coordinate, every aircraft in the flight has to read back the lines 4, 6, 8, and any restrictions. Okay, so elevation, location, and friendlies, and then obviously if there's an attack heading. These are the only 3 things I want to hear people reading back to me. I don't need to know Alpha 8, 47 feet, shipping, was it ship? I can't remember, shipping, something in the open, location, north. I don't need all of that because how long it takes you to read that. I just need to know, you know, where it is. Okay, where I am, so you don't drop a bomb on my head, and any restrictions that we've put in place to stop that. Okay, your egress, get back to where you want to be. I don't need to know that. If it's bombs on target, only the flight lead needs to read back lines 4, 6, 8 and restrictions. Okay, and that's because you're going to go into your intra-flight and you're going to coordinate where is that target. Okay, and there's a lot of intra-flight going on. Don't, as the flight leads, guys, don't rush to go, yeah, let's read back, because Dash 4 might be like, what did he just say? He's English. I don't understand a word he's just said. Okay, so take your time. Everybody go back across the net 2. Everybody happy with those coordinates? Yep, happy. And when you read back your coordinates, read them back from the system. Okay, don't read them back from your notepad. Read them back from the aircraft system, because if you read them back from your notepad and you read them back fine, I can't stop you putting an error into your system, or no one else can when you type it across and put it in and call IP inbound. Okay, so if you write it down, type it into the waypoint into the system, right, and read back from your display, at least you know it's correct then. That makes sense to everybody? Yeah.
It does, yeah. It sounds like a really good habit to get into.
Yeah, so, which is why I try with VR to put it in straight into the system. So when you call up ready for your attack brief, have your I'm trying to say UFC for the F-18, have the DED up for the F-16, ready to type input waypoints, and on your CDU for your A-10, be ready to type in everything that you need. Okay. Right. Any questions on the 9-line brief? Cool. Right. The fun part. Okay. When you've got your 9-line brief, you read back. I'll be like, Charger 1-1, read back correct. Charger 1-2, go ahead. Charger 1-2, read back correct. Charger 1-3, go ahead. Charger 1-3, your read back is correct. Charger 1, read back is correct. Report IP inbound. Okay. IP inbound doesn't mean, you know, bombs away. It just means I'm now turning in. You might not, just because you're at 8 miles, you might not pick up the weapon until, or the laser spot or whatever, until 3 or 4 miles. Okay, this is the bit that's a little bit fluid now, and will take a little bit of thinking, a bit of working, and if all else fails, just go to plain English. Okay, so you'll call IP inbound. The JTAG and the FAC-A will designate a mark, or mark the target as briefed. Okay, this is where there's lots of comms depending on what we're using. Okay, once you have it, a little bit of tally or captured or spot for lasers, all that sort of stuff. Once we've got it, you'll call in, which means you're in your terminal phase of weapon release. Okay, in 270. Roger. JTAG's going right. He's got the target. We confirm that. His heading's good. Confirm that. Roger. Charger 1 cleared hot. Okay, and then that's you cleared weapons release. Okay, so to expand on that, some very quick examples. Okay, example number 1 is a type 2 bombs on target. Aircraft will self-laze for weapon. Okay, so we're going to do something like this tonight. Okay, so you'll get your 9-line brief. Okay, and it will be I'll give you the coordinates of the target. Okay, you put the target in, you turn your pod towards it, you turn your aircraft towards it. I'm IP inbound. You can do with this, if you can see it beforehand, you can call it beforehand, or you can call it after IP inbound. As long as you get it in, you can't call in if you haven't got a target. Okay, so once you've positively got your target captured, and tell me what it is. So captured shipping container in the open. IP inbound, capture, and then 2 minutes later, captured shipping container in the open. I'll be like, Roger, cool. In, which means you're literally, I want to push the button now. In, my heading's 250. Roger, cleared hot, and you're off. And then you laser target, because remember, it's a bombs on target. Okay. If I can't see the target, you are able to provide BDA should you need to, and obviously I can ask you for BDA if I don't see the bomb impact or things like that. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Yeah. Another way to do that would be
Yeah.
I'm going to mark the target with smoke, and you call IP inbound. Roger, mark is on the deck, 50 meters north of the red smoke. You're having a look. 50 meters northwest. Roger, captured T72, tracking T72. Roger, and then you call in 250, and you go from there. We could use the IR pointer. It could just simply be you could call IP inbound and then sparkle, and I'll be like, okay, yep, sparkle in. Yeah, and then you'll call contact sparkle. Job done. Okay, and that's you then driving in on the target. Another example, type 2 bombs on coordinates. JTAG is to laze for a laser maverick. So you'll get your 9-line brief. In the mark, target will be marked with laser code, and I'll either take your code if you've given me one, or I'll give you the code. You can report inbound. Report IP inbound. Yeah, and I'll start lasing. Okay. We've got it here with the cleared hot and laser on and things like this. It's very fluid down here when the laser comes on. So if you call IP inbound, I'll turn the laser on and I'll report lasing. Okay, and then when you get the laser, I don't know how it reacts in the other aircraft, but we get an indication that it's got a lock. You can say spot, which is acquisition of the laser, or negative laser, which means it's not tracking. Okay, if you call spot and then in, head in 240, Roger, cleared hot or cleared dry or whatever. Okay, and then rifle when it's weapon away, and because obviously I'm lasing, then you just pull off and bugger off. If you have an expected time of flight or weapons full time, then report it with the rifle. Okay, so rifle 10 seconds. So let me know when that weapon's going to hit. If your aircraft doesn't give you that information, don't worry about it. Just report rifle. I know a Maverick is slow as hell anyway. Any questions on that example? Sweet. Right, type 2 bombs on coordinate. JTAG lays for a laser guided bomb. Similar thing. This time though, you can give us an advanced call. So you get the thing, IP inbound, 10 seconds when you're ready for the laser, which will generally come before your in call. Okay, now you have no way of knowing if the bomb has seen the laser. So, normally what I would do if I was flying it is 10 to 6 seconds before weapon release, I would start my lasing and then I would release the weapon. Okay, or I would do it just after weapon release. So it's up to you as the pilot. 10 seconds. That means gives me a 10-second warning for laser, then call laser on. Okay, I'll say lasing, and then you're off anyway, and then I'll call if it's splash or anything else like that. And then it's given here weapon away, 15 seconds because time of flight was given. And then bombs on target for rockets on an IR pointer. Okay, so you'll call IP inbound, and the code word for these is I'll call sparkle, and that'll point, and then you say contact the sparkle or no joy. Okay, and then cleared hot. So if I want you to put a load of rockets on a tree line, I'll shine the IR pointer on it, and I will go along these sort of lines, and then cleared hot if you're on the right heading. Okay.